So as I mentioned, lots of similarities between meeting three and meeting four, and again, sometimes it kind of gets crossed over a little bit. You've got to use, as I've said, your own sales acumen to determine where you are in the process, and sometimes these meetings can cross over, and you might only need three meetings, as an example. But when I think about meeting four in an ideal world, it is its own separate, distinct meeting, and it's really to now, in essence, finalize and put pen to paper or pencil to paper and really have that business discussion. So we've wanted to talk about money and revenue and exactly what we're going to do since the first time we met the CPA. This is the meeting where we actually do that, we finalize it, and I want you to think about it this way. We're no longer at this point really kind of tiptoeing around. We've got an agreement. The CPA said, let's move forward. We've decided to finalize a marketing plan. We've decided to finalize compensation. So this is really where we begin to, in essence, develop the relationship and ensure that we both are on the same page and that we have clarity around where we're moving going forward. So in this particular meeting, we're going to finalize the marketing plan. So when I spoke about the marketing plan earlier, which is generally in meeting three, we talked about throwing out ideas. So in this meeting, we're collaborating and we're actually going to make decisions on what we're going to do. It's an important part of leadership, right? So I would say something along these lines when I framed out the beginning of this meeting. I would say, hey, Ken, so here we are. I'm so excited about our moving forward together. And the idea of today is to really have the business discussion. I want to document things. I want to put pen to paper. And I want to really make sure that we finalize a written game plan that we can utilize to ensure that we're going to ultimately hold each other accountable. And I want to make sure, Ken, that we do that in a way that you're going to be really, really comfortable and that anything we document that we're going to do, that we're going to follow through on without doubt. So why don't we spend some time and really create a finalized marketing plan. Now, really important, guys, you can't push the CPA at this point to do things that he or she are not comfortable with. You're simply setting yourself up for failure. So my advice is really let the CPA set the tone of this meeting and ask a lot of questions. So as an example, as you go through the marketing plan, I know we've reviewed it already, but when you talk about some of the more active pieces, so I would ask, are you comfortable doing a client appreciation event? Are you comfortable doing a quarterly seminar? How do you feel about sending all of your clients this particular letter? And at this point, I'm going to put some of them up on the screen for you. You're going to actually walk them through it. So as an example, here's the letter that we suggest that you send to your clients. So you can see that up on the screen. I want you to visualize yourself actually handing that letter to the CPA and reading it together and saying, is this something you'd be comfortable with? Are you comfortable with the verbiage? Do we want to make some adjustments to it so that you are more comfortable? And we want to get their reaction. The same would be true on some of the other tools that we have. So this is really a meeting where we are acting as the coach or the consultant to the accountant, and we're trying to help he or she make some decisions on what to move forward with. We want to talk about events that they might want to have, what their interests are, etc. At the end of the day, I want you to walk away with a marketing plan. You can use our template, you can create our own, you can change it, that you and the CPA have 100% agreed you're comfortable with and that you're going to be able to implement. I'm going to throw another slide up on the screen, which is a really, really critical piece of the leadership part here. And this is something that lots of advisors fail to do, even though we teach it, because again, it's a little bit uncomfortable. And the slide, as you can see, is entitled, Asking the CPA for Implied Permission to be a Pest. So as I said, as a tip, this is generally going to be presented after presenting the joint marketing plan and discussing the goals for joint business. So this is really something you're going to present once the CPA and yourself have created the plan, has said, yes, we're going to do it. It's important that you get permission, what I like to call to be a pest, implied permission to be a pest. So here's what that script sounds like. Ken, I wanted to have a conversation with you around everything we've spoken about up to this point. I feel very confident that you and I are on our way to creating a mutually beneficial relationship together if we follow the marketing plan we've created and we continue to meet on a weekly or bi-weekly basis as we've agreed. I truly believe we will be able to attain the goals that we set for our partnership. My only concern is if we lose focus and don't execute on the plan. Obviously, you have many things on your plate, and I'm more than willing to take on the responsibility of ensuring that we continue to execute on our plan. In order to do so, I'll need to hold us both accountable to sticking to the plan and creating the appointment activity necessary for us to reach our goals. Now, this could become a little awkward, and I wanted to get your permission to be somewhat of a pest in order to ensure that we both stay on track. That way, when you and I look back a year from now, we'll both be well on our way to the success that we've envisioned. Is it okay for me to be a pest in order to ensure we both achieve the goals that we've set out to accomplish? Now, guys, that right there is Leadership 101. I can't stress it enough. If the CPA nods his or her head and says, yes, I give you permission to be a pest, you are now in charge of the relationship, and you can remind them of that anytime you want in a funny or friendly way is how I usually do it, and remind them of why you want to get back to get their goals, why you want to do something, I should say, to help them reach their goals. So everything comes back to the marketing plan. Hopefully you guys can see this is all about leadership, right? The hard part, getting the CPA to say yes to work with you in your alliance program. The harder part is influencing them to do what you want them to do. The way you're going to influence them is through your leadership skills, through accountability, through buy-in, through helping them achieve what they want to achieve. That's what great leaders do. This script is critically important. If you deliver that and they agree with it, you now have carte blanche to hold them accountable, right? And I do that all the time with the CPAs that my practice works with. We come back to the marketing plan and we say, hey, Ken, listen, our goal was to acquire 17 clients this year. If we acquired 17 clients for 5 years like we planned to, that's how you ultimately make $72,000. It's right here on the spreadsheet. Now, you've missed your last 2 meetings weekly. We were supposed to do 4 client events this year, and we haven't done any. And you're supposed to make 3 calls every other week when I come to your office. And the last 2 weeks, you were unprepared to do that. So I just want you to know we're not going to reach our goals unless we change it. And you asked me to remind you of that. So I want you to understand the critical importance of that in the role, right? I have a past leader of mine, and at my own firm, we have an acronym, and the acronym is Woody Woofy. Woody Woofy is WDWYF. What do you want for yourself? And what we would always do is we would go through a business plan, and I'll just share a quick story with you. I remember my leader. I had gone through a business plan with my leader. I went through my Woody Woofy process. What do you want for yourself? And at the end of that, what you do is you narrow it down basically to 2 or 3 core values that are most important to you. So my core values have always been health, because without your health, you have nothing. Family, because to me and most, family is everything. And the third was success. Those are my 3 core values, right? I wanted to be healthy, because without my health, I couldn't do anything. I wanted to be there with my family and be there for my family, have a great relationship with them. And thirdly, I wanted to be successful. And after I went through my Woody Woofie one year, my leader said to me, if I see you doing something that is not going to support what you want for yourself, is it okay if I remind you? And I agreed. I said, sure. I'd be happy that if you see me doing something that's going to prevent me from getting what I want for myself, it'd be great if you could remind me. So about 2 weeks after I went through my Woody Woofie process, one of my goals was to be healthy, and I wanted to try to lose about 20 pounds. Still want to lose about 20 pounds, by the way. But I'm walking down the hallway, and I see my leader walking down the hallway, and I'm in between meetings, and I'm sitting with a big chicken Parmesan hero sitting in my right hand. And as I walk through the hallway and I pass my leader, I'm taking a big bite of that chicken Parmesan hero right there. My leader looks at me, and here was his remark. He said, hey, John, do you really think eating that for lunch is going to help you get what you want for yourself? So, hey, guys, my first reaction was to punch him in the jaw, right? Who's he to say that to me? My second reaction after I thought about it was I asked him to actually help me, right? I asked him to help me, and he's mentoring me. So what I just read to you a minute ago in the script, getting implied permission to be a pest, is in essence what my leader had done for me. And that creates this openness, right? And this ability to accept feedback from somebody. Critically important. And then, guys, the last thing that you really want to do in this last meeting, this meeting 4, is really document what your business agreement is going to be. So what do we want to do there, guys? And we'll help you with this in some of our coaching calls on an ongoing basis outside of the scope of today's presentations. But hey, so here are some of the things to think about. What's your payout rate going to be? Right? We talked about that 15 to 30% range. We need to agree on that and document it. We need to talk about things like how they'll be compensated structurally. Do we need to have a business agreement in place? What will ultimately happen if the relationship, if we decide that we're going to break up our partnership? Who keeps the clients? Is there an equity stake? Is there not an equity stake? These are all different pieces from a business perspective that need to be documented. And at that point, we're moving on. We're signing paperwork. We're creating agreements, relationships that will hopefully last for a lifetime. So with that, guys, what I want to do now is I want to really kind of go back to where we started, and I want to do a quick overview of all 4 steps in the process, right from meeting 1 through meeting 4. Hopefully you're sitting back right now at this moment and you're thinking to yourself, I got it, right? I understand where I'm trying to take the CPA. I've got a plan. I've got a process. I've got all of the tools necessary. And I hope that you're looking at it and saying, this is a lot simpler than I actually thought, okay? This is not rocket science, okay? I don't think I've come up with anything that is all that special. I think what I've done is I've gone out and I've followed the KISS principle, right? The KISS principle is keep it simple, stupid, right? So I think I followed the KISS principle and created a program that I know has not only worked in my practice, but has worked in thousands of advisors' practices that I've gone out and trained all around the country, that because it's systematized, because it's processed, because we know where we're trying to push the relationship, we're seriously stacking the odds in your favor for the CPA to follow you and to build that trust and ultimately see value in partnering with you and partnering with your firm. So I'm going to pause there and I'm going to put a slide up that just reminds you of what we do in each and every. So as you can see on your screen, what I want to do is I want to go back to the first step in the process to really ensure that you can fully understand exactly where we're trying to take the CPA step by step and begin to internalize exactly what's supposed to happen in each and every meeting. So as you know, step one is, in essence, to have that first introductory meeting. And the purpose is going to be to introduce yourself, your practice, your business firm's philosophy, to find common ground, and to identify a basis for continued discussion. To make it really simple, the purpose of meeting one is simply to get meeting two. We walked in there as a step above a used car salesperson. We walk out hopefully being likable, spending 70% of our time listening, and having that CPA want to meet us again and want to learn more. In that second meeting, step two, it's the office visit. So in that meeting, this is where we are building credibility. We want to share our operation. We want to introduce the CPA to your team. We want to share some examples of your work, the types of services that you provide, and really to differentiate yourself from BDs primarily concerned with commissions rather than your client-centric approach. We want to build credibility. We want them to see why you're better and why you're different. After that office visit, as you know, we want to go to lunch. Now, when we're at lunch, the purpose is really simple. We want to break bread. We want to continue on our rapport building. And most importantly, we want to solicit feedback. We want to ask that simple question, so what did you think? We know we're going to hear positive things. We're trying to start to get their buy-in. We're going to wrap that lunch meeting. We're going to do our transitioning to meeting three script, and we're going to start to now, and this is where it gets critical, we're going to start to now begin to become the leader of the relationship. We had a good meeting. We were likable. We built the credibility in our second meeting. We heard how great we were in our lunch meeting. Now we need to take the baton, so to speak, and begin to lead that relationship. So meeting three is how to make that relationship work. We have to show them. We have to lead them. We have to become their consultant. So the purpose of this meeting is simply to create a vision for the CPA of how this relationship can work. We have to assess as the advisor, how ready are they? Do they need to be brought along slowly, or are they someone who is ready to move much more quickly? And we have to now prescribe the rest of our sales process based on their readiness level and how we assess them. If they need to be brought along slowly, we simply want to make sure that we get a consistent meeting on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And secondly, we want to try to have them make one small step, if possible, to do something on a proactive basis so that we keep the momentum going. If we're fortunate enough that they're ready to really move along, we're going to go in a much more strong sense, and we're going to begin to really get into the marketing plan in detail. We're going to start to talk about financials, and we're going to really begin to develop and finalize our relationship. That's going to lead us into the fourth meeting, which is our business planning meeting. And the purpose of this meeting is to finally have that business opportunity discussion, right? This is where, guys, we get to do what we always wanted to do, and where we're truly in charge of the relationship as we finalize things, create business agreements, finalize our marketing document, and ensure that they understand the payout rates and the business end of things. We need to ensure that we get permission to become a pest, and that they understand that it's our responsibility, and that the CPA accepts that to ultimately lead the relationship going forward, right? So the reason I wanted to give you that brief overview, guys, is when that becomes clear, and when you understand the intention and the purpose of each and every meeting you're in, that's where you can actually internalize it, and where you're going to become very, very successful in moving that CPA and that accounting firm exactly where you want to be. So from a global perspective, guys, here's where we're at. We've invested a lot of time, we've invested a lot of energy, and we've invested some money in this program. What it all comes down to now is execution. Here's what I can share with you. In running this training program for many years, what I know is if you simply follow our system and you follow our process, you will ultimately be successful. Okay, here's what I can tell you from past groups. Those who do the activity 12 months later generally have somewhere between 2 and 3 relationships that are true formal alliances and 2 or 3 non-formal relationships that are also referring. It is all about the execution. Here are the keys to executing. The first piece is it's all about activity. We talked about 64 meetings a year. If we don't get belly to belly 64 times, chances are we're not going to develop the 6 relationships that I just mentioned. So we, in essence, have 8 months a year, taking tax season off, to see 2 CPAs a week, 32 weeks out of the year. If we go out and see 64 CPAs, I can almost ensure you that you're going to be successful if you follow our system and you follow our process. The second piece I want to really focus on, you need to ensure that you treat this marketing differently. If you're going to make the calls yourself, if you're going to offer our telemarketing service program, which our folks in my office can help you learn more about, or if you're going to choose to have someone else in your office make these telephone calls, you need to ensure that it's treated differently and it happens no less than 5 hours a week. Hour a day, 5 days a week. We need to create our lead database. We need to make sure that we meet each and every accountant or CPA that works with your clientele. We need to get our Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross leads, as I like to call them, our HD Vest, our First Global, our Genworth Financial, those who are already in the industry and are actually practicing financial planning. And cold calling those others that are not in the list that I just mentioned are also going to be critically important to the activity. We found we have as much, if not more, success with CPAs that we don't know as CPAs that we already have a pre-existing relationship with. It is all about activity. It is all about ensuring that this actually occurs. What I also want to make sure that everybody understands is, as a result of this presentation, most of us have joined our ongoing coaching program. You'll hear from my office, who will be sending you links to the next 12 webinars. Here's what I want to ask you to do. Please, I plead with you, register for all 12 of the coaching webinars and the 3 webinars designed for you to invite CPAs that you're working with that Ken and I host. Please register for all 15 of those webinars in advance. Here's why I ask you to do that. If you do that, you will automatically get reminders and links from our webinar company. If you don't do that, you will most likely call my office 15 minutes before a webinar and become frustrated with me because you don't know how to get on. So please register up front. We've invested this much time. It's really important that you listen to each and every webinar. What's great about our ongoing webinar and coaching program, guys, is that you're going to ultimately get a copy of each of those webinars as well. So you can listen to them over and over again in sound bites, right? So this is a long day to absorb everything. To be able to listen to these 12 webinars is going to be something that you can listen to in small hour increments. And every month you're going to have the opportunity to go through Q&A with one of our certified coaches. Next, I'd like to mention, please make sure you utilize us as a resource for those of you who've hired us on an ongoing basis. We're here to help. We want to coach. We want to support you. As you start to have these meetings, you're going to encounter things that I can't think of in this training program, right? So you're going to get a question that you don't know the answer to, or you're going to have to, make a decision on how to move forward with something or handle an objection. That's what we're here for. So those who use us as a resource, use us for our 30-minute coaching calls, whether that be me or whether that be my partner, Ken Serini. Best use, guys. Use me to help troubleshoot your sales process with the CPA. Use Ken to speak directly with CPAs so he can share his experience and help you kind of close the loop and get that CPA to consider joining your alliance program. CPAs want to hear from a peer having Ken as an unbelievable resource as a whole. Role play, master the scripts. There are 8 to 10 scripts which are not to be memorized verbatim, but I want you to get those concepts. If you have those concepts down, you will be able to intertwine them and bring them into conversation when the time's right. It's like anything else, guys. The first meeting you do with the CPA will not go as well as the 20th meeting. So the more activity you have and the more practice you have with these scripts, the better you're ultimately going to get. So with that, guys, if you simply follow those steps that I just laid out, I am very, very confident that you're going to have a ton of success with our program, and this is going to help you to truly create quantum growth in your practice. If, in closing, my final thought should be, here's where I want you right now. Here's how you should be feeling. My first thought is you should be feeling really excited, right? Hopefully, as we conclude our coaching program here, our full day training, my hope is that you're looking at this saying, my goodness, this can truly change my career and really help me create quantum growth in my practice. I also think that you should be feeling very overwhelmed. There's a lot of information. There's a lot that needs to get accomplished. And what I want to ensure that you understand is that's why we're here. That's why we exist. That's why I have certified coaches. And that's why both Ken and I are available to support you. If you're able to put in the next 12 months and really focus on the key activities like we've suggested, I am very confident that you're going to be able to accomplish things that you have not been able to accomplish in your practice up to this point, and really be in a position that client acquisition is not the stumbling block in your practice anymore. You've got to put the hard work in. If you put the hard work in, my team and I are here to support you. We believe our program and the support that we provide is as good as anywhere you can get it in the industry. You supply the effort, we'll supply the knowledge, and I think if we put that together as a combination, you're going to be absolutely hugely successful. So with that, I want to thank you for joining our program. We are absolutely looking forward to the next year or so of helping support you and helping you build the practice of your dreams. Thanks again, and I hope you really enjoyed our program.